I'm not sure how long I sat there just staring at the screen. Every now and then I would turn around and make sure I was still alone in that apartment. My eyes shifted toward the second video file. I was eager to press play, even though I knew I shouldn't. This didn't feel right at all. It was like I was watching something that no sane person should see, especially not by themselves. The children's voices were still ringing in my ears. I could hear my mother's voice telling me to go home, to go to bed, begging me to stop. I shook it off and ignored the guilt rising inside me. I pressed play. Body cam footage 2. The computer speakers rattled the desk. The video started with my father standing behind several other men wearing hard hats and reflective shirts, all of them waiting as the loud noise continued. As their bodies shifted around, I could see in between their gaps that something was being pushed into the pipe. I leaned closer to the monitor. My father, Jim, pushed through the group to get a better view. A man I had not seen before was standing by the pipe with a laptop resting on top of it. He had turned the screen so everyone in the room could see what he was seeing. Both Jim and Hopper were near the front, close enough that the body cam footage could clearly see what was being recorded as the man continued pushing a long cable through the pipe. 10 feet now, the man said as he continued to carefully and slowly push the video cable through. My eyes shifted to the timestamp on the top right. It was now 9:45 p.m. They had been down there for several hours now. The cable feed only showed more pipe and bugs roaming around inside of it. The inside of the pipe itself looked wet and rusted. Only pitch black darkness was ahead. 15 feet. Carter stepped forward. Every now and then, between the sounds of the cable moving against the metal pipe, I can hear the kids still talking, still laughing inside there. 25 feet, the man said and shook his head. How far do you say this went again? All of them looked over towards Carter. Sweat rolled down his face as he stood there looking dumbfounded. 15 feet tops. You might want to update your blueprint there, one of the men called out. 35 feet, approaching 40. Wait a minute. The room fell silent. My father stepped forward enough so I can no longer see the other men. Only the laptop screen. There, through the long cable video feed, a static bright light appeared at what looked like the end of the tunnel. Maybe the wall is reflecting the cable light, someone said. The cable man shook his head. No, that's not my light. There's a room ahead. He then thrust more cable through the pipe. A new environment emerged on screen as the cable camera had finally exited the other end. What the hell is that? He paused and held tightly onto the cable. Carter stepped even closer. That's not fucking possible. That was never there when we built it. No way. Frustrated, he took off his hard hat and wiped the sweat from his forehead. I paused the video as the body cam footage settled on what was being shown through the laptop. I could see a part of my reflection on the monitor. My hand lay gently onto the screen as I leaned in closer to what I was seeing. The cable camera had been pushed through into what looked like a yellow room. The entire room was lit by fluorescent lights. The walls covered in some sort of yellowish wallpaper with a pattern too blurry for me to see. The carpet covered the floor. Openings in multiple directions that led into more of the same rooms. The entire thing looked as though they had punctured through some empty corporate office space. Why would any of this be down in those tunnels? Then I saw it. I felt something crawl up my spine as I zoomed in. I could see what I assumed was one of the children slightly peering at the camera from afar, behind one of the yellow walls, smiling. I leaned back into the chair. What the hell was I watching? Unable to stop, I continued the video. My father was the first to speak. I noticed the child's face had vanished out of sight. No one had noticed. I don't care what you remember about laying this area down. We need to get into that room. They're in there somewhere. I don't know how, but right now, I want this area sealed off. No one comes in or out of this system without me knowing about it. I don't want any part of this, Carter said as he rolled up his own blueprint. Whatever fucking game you guys are playing at, I'm done. I'm out of here. He walked out of the room by himself. Carter, the hero, everybody. Hopper shook his head. No one said a word, each of them looking back and forth at each other, questioning what they were seeing. Through the laptop speakers, you could hear the children more clearly now, running around, laughing and stomping their feet, yet none of them showed up on the feed. My father turned towards Hopper and the others. How soon can we get in there? One of the men cleared his throat before speaking. I'll go over the schematics one more time. Assuming there isn't a closer spot we can breach from, we can start tonight, but it's not going to be until tomorrow at least until we have enough clearance to get through in there. Let's bring them home, my father said. As the men began exiting the room, Hopper pulled my father over to the side where none of them could hear. You really think they're in there? Hopper said. Don't you hear them? Hopper paused, looking at the laptop screen and listening to the children's giggles echoing in the room, then nodded. It was clear to me he no longer wanted to be down there. What about Billy? Maybe he knows how to get in there. We need to assume he's in there with them, Hopper. We can't waste too much time on this. Not with this many kids. In this place. End of video. There were only 2 more recordings left to play. I felt my heart race as I continued the next one. Body cam footage 3. Do you hear that? My father had woken out of bed at 4 a.m. He stumbled across his wooden floor as he approached the shower curtain. The body cam was gripped in his hands, facing towards him. Listen. He paused next to the shower curtain. I leaned closer to the monitor, the chair squeaking underneath me. I was certain by the walls and the layout, this was the same apartment I was sitting in now. My father turned the camera around to face the shower. He quickly pulled back the curtain. The metal rings on the curtain rod clanged together. He then lowered the body cam closer to the drain. A child's laughter crawled up through the drain. I felt dizzy from just listening to it. Who's down there? My father called out. Another laugh. I said, who's down there? He yelled. Come play with us, a voice hissed. The first scene ended there. All I was left with for what felt like an eternity was my own reflection in the monitor and the stale, empty air of the apartment. It wasn't what was just said that disturbed me. People can play tricks on others like that easily. What disturbed me was knowing that his apartment unit was on the ground floor. No unit was underneath him. Yet, even worse, this was the same apartment. Even with the voices toying with him for God only knows how long, he stayed here the entire time. The next scene began. My father was walking down the main tunnel room I saw earlier when they first arrived. The camera feed said it was now 7 a.m. As he got near the pipe room, Hopper handed him a cup of coffee. Loud machinery noises came from the room ahead. They should be through soon. No other way in then, huh? Jim said. Hopper shook his head. This was the most direct route they could find, and the easiest one to chip through. They've been at it since 11 last night. 40 fucking feet of concrete. Jesus. Glad they have the tools. Hopper laughed. Those parents better get their pocketbooks ready. Something like this? Shit, the city usually would take their sweet time on a project like this. If it wasn't for those kids, we'd be waiting weeks at least. No shit. Any word on Billy? No one's seen Billy. I had a few of my guys check the homeless camps. Some of them even mentioned they hadn't seen him for a couple weeks. They figured he was long dead. If he really dragged those kids down in there somehow, he's gonna wish he was dead, my father said and took a sip from his coffee. Listen, Hopper, something happened this morning. Pretty sure I got it on video, but a man covered in dust and tiny bits of concrete stepped out of the room and walked over. We're in. He then turned and looked towards the now silent room. You gotta see it for yourselves. Whatever this is, the city has no idea about it. It looks gigantic, and all that's above us right now is dirt, the parking garage, and a road. It doesn't make any goddamn sense why anyone would leave this down here. And shit, the lights are even on. You stepped inside? Hopper asked. The man shook his head as he brushed off chunks of concrete. Ain't no way in hell I'm stepping in there. My job's done. It took 12 of us to clear it. Not a single one of us wants to go in there. Place gives us the creeps. He then patted Hopper's shoulder. You guys are up next. Hopper sighed. My father set down his cup of coffee onto the concrete ledge and walked with Hopper into the room. The pipe was gone, completely annihilated by the large drill they used. There was now a much larger opening, big enough for a single man to walk through. Damn, my father said as he peeked into the newly formed rough-edged tunnel. A man stepped in beside him. There were open layers as we drilled in, just either filled with dirt or barely any concrete at all. That helped us tremendously. Otherwise, this could have taken days, if not at least a week. Hopper whistled, and they listened as the whistle echoed through the new chamber. At the very end, they could see a tiny bright light. End of scene. The camera turned back on the moment Hopper and my father set foot into the unknown room. Every now and then, the video feed would cut for a split second or two, like something in the room was affecting the camera. I could hear them both breathing heavily as they pushed forward carefully with each step. Their footsteps sounded hollow. The fluorescent lights hummed above their heads. Hello? Hopper called out, but no one responded. Your parents are worried sick, kiddos. It's time to go home, my father said. Hopper waited and then shook his head after no one answered. Years ago, when I was living in Maine, there was this case that always stuck with me. Their footsteps echoed down the empty hallway as they pressed forward. I got a wellness check from an upset mother who said her daughter wasn't returning her calls anymore. They rounded a corner, more yellow wallpaper, more fluorescent lights humming. Hopper continued. Anyways, I get there and there's blood everywhere, all over the daughter's living room and bathroom floor. Come to find out, she was pregnant. Never once did she tell her parents. She was due soon, too. The lights above them flickered. Both men paused, then kept walking. She committed suicide, stabbed herself multiple times, even towards the womb. She eventually bled out on the living room floor. I knelt down and turned her around. Hopper stopped in his tracks and turned to Jim. I'll never forget the look in her eyes, Jim. It's like she saw something she wasn't supposed to see. And then I hear a whimper, and I look down towards her legs. Somehow, in her dying moments, she gave birth to a child she had tried to kill. The child was unharmed, survived. They continued walking. The silence of the room pressed in around them. But there was something off about that apartment. The detectives we brought in confirmed it was suicide, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was in there with me when I found her. I stumbled upon a pair of white padded gloves soaked in water and blood. They ran it through the system, but it belonged to no one. Not even her. You sure know how to comfort a guy, Jim said. Hopper shook his head. That feeling I got in that apartment, like someone or something was there with me, watching me find that body. It's here now, Jim. Ever since we stepped foot in this place, we're not supposed to be somewhere like this. Just ignore it, Jim replied coldly. Hopper turned to him. You feel it too, don't you? Yeah, I feel it too. But I swear to God, if I find Billy, I'm going to fucking kill him myself. Hopper nodded. Can't say that I blame you. I watched as they continued making their way through the large room. There were columns and walls pointlessly placed all around, leading to nothing but more of the same. Sharp corners all around, creating the illusion of fake paths leading to nowhere. Why would someone build this? None of the area was being used. No office equipment, no tables or desks, nothing but vast empty rooms and hallways as far as the eye could see. Time passed as they continued walking down a straight path as far as they could, until they eventually would have to choose going left or right. On the right, there was even a small crawl space with more of the same carpet and wallpaper. Jim got down on his knees and peeked through. It looked like it led to another big room of more of the same. Hopper leaned down and looked through. I don't understand this. What the hell is this place? It just keeps going on and on. No doors, nothing to indicate any reason what this even is. Jim got back onto his feet. You know what bothers me the most right now? What? The moment we exited that tunnel, I don't hear the kids anymore. A sudden loud beep made both the men flinch. It was Hopper's radio. Hopper, you there? Over. Hopper took a slight moment to calm his nerves and gather himself before returning the call. Jesus, you about gave me a heart attack. What you got? Over. We found Billy. Oh, and Hopper, you guys should know. He's got blood all over him. Both Hopper and Jim looked at each other. Hopper grabbed his radio, his face turning red. We're on our way. Without hesitation, both of them backtracked their steps, rounding the previous corner they had just passed. I'm going to kill him myself, Hopper growled. That better not be their fucking blood, Jim said. They finally made the last corner they had to go around and headed straight back towards the man-made tunnel. That's when I realized something was wrong before they did. The tunnel was gone. In the body cam footage 3,